Hello friends, fans, and dairy products of all ages. This is Cheese of Ages here, doing a video talking about a subject that hasn't really been a buzz on the Reddit for a bit, because I meant to make this video a while ago, but stuff happened. It's talking about the whole dynamic queue system, which a while back was like raising up an enormous stink on Reddit because people were like really upset about it and how it was being done, and the various issues that I'll break into for a bit. The main issue with it that people had was dynamic queue was replacing solo queue initially, and there was still going to be ranked 5s. So there was going to be, essentially, people pointed out it's a team of any sizes queue and a team of 5s queue. There's pretty much no point in having ranked 5s as there's a dynamic queue, other than something I'll point out in a minute. And people were like, I should be able to queue solo and not have to worry about going up against a pre-made group that has practiced together, might have team synergy, and might be in voice communication. And this is a valid complaint. Anybody that doesn't agree that voice chat provides an advantage, or being in a pre-made that is over voice communication does not provide an advantage, anyone that thinks that it doesn't provide an advantage is stupid as fuck. If you're not in voice communication, then you have to communicate solely through pings and chatting, meaning you have to ping a point on the map and communicate all your information by enemy missing, be careful, or assist me, or attention pings. It's basically like, oh, my lane is gone, be careful at this point, or look here. That's all the information you can convey. There's danger here, attention here, the enemy of this lane is missing. That's a good amount of information. If you want to do any more information, you've got to take your hands off of everything you are doing, stop, and type detailed information. The person in voice communication with somebody can, in about the same amount of time as you typing it out, faster than you typing it out, and about the same speed as pinging, is, oh, my lane is missing, headed towards bot. I'm not going to chase him down because the area is not warded. I'm going to hyper push my lane, get to safety, and I'll be there to collapse on them after I get my minions underneath the tower. You can communicate all that information relatively easily in voice communication. It's like, oh, look out, jungler. My lane enemy is heading that way. Double back. I'm going to come up from behind. We'll collapse on them together. Or, oh, that enemy that's missing went towards the direction of their raptor pit. You know, you can communicate that with the ping. Like, enemy missing, and you like, enemy missing where they went. You know, that's communicatable. Or you could go into more advanced strategy things. It's like, okay, I'm going to collapse on the jungler that's in the river, and then I'm going to roam top. Or we should get dragon and then go to bot tower. Or we should get dragon, act like we're going to go for bot tower, baiting them into a fight there. You know, or like put your wall there as, hey, Anivia that's mid, put your wall there, and Caitlyn set up traps here, and we'll force them towards one of the directions. You know, if that's not an advantage to voice communication, if you don't think that being able to do detailed strategy in faster periods of time in which you could type the same information and communicate with the pings and communicate with the information greater than typing and pinging information communication without having to stop to do anything else, you could just keep communicating without stopping anything. You can keep farming, you can keep using abilities. You could be in the middle of a fight with another champion and communicate that, like, the jungler's collapsing on bottom without having to, like, stop to ping or do anything. You could just keep fighting. That's an advantage that I should not have to worry about being against if I'm queuing by myself. And despite that idiotic video from a, like, medium face in the League community that states that if you want to queue solo, you're a freaking antisocial hermit, you know, that's just because all my friends are, like, off doing something else or busy or in a game, and I just, like, come in and I want to play a League of Legends game. Okay, I'll just play by myself. Or I just want to play by myself. Sometimes I don't feel like playing with my friends. Sometimes I just, like, want to queue up for a game, play League of Legends. Like, maybe my two friends that are available that aren't at work are playing Diablo 3, and I was like, I want to play some League of Legends. Why do I have to queue in a mode where there's, like, I could potentially be against a 4-stack and be forced to play with 4 other people in a pre-made? And I'm not in voice communication with them. Why can't I just play against other solo players? It's a valid request. It makes fucking sense. And there's always the chance that the pre-made will gang up on the solo player. It happens a lot. In another game, Smite, that I used to play, but the community was so fucking toxic, and the game has so many balance issues, that I've pretty much quit playing. Earlier in my, like, Smite career, like, I was about midway through it, I was reasonably well experienced, and I knew, like, not league mechanics, but, like, MOBA mechanics and everything. I was gonna, like, rank up my mastery in Artemis, a hunter. And I freaking go into 3v3 joust. It's basically one lane, 3 people on each team, if you're unfamiliar with the mode. The other people on the team are in a pre-made. Basically, they're queuing together. They're a duo. Hades Loki. It's like, okay, we need some ranged AD. You know, we've got a mage because even though he was classified as a guardian, everybody with any goddamn brain knew that Hades was a freaking mage. They've even reclassified him for Season 3 of Smite as a mage. You idiot. And that duo that freaking said he wasn't a mage. So, yeah. So, okay, we've got a mage and a tank, and we've got an assassin. We need some, like, ranged physical damage to siege that tower down. You know, like a person with goddamn common sense. And I don't even lock in. I just, like, okay, I hover this, I have it there, I don't lock in. They both lock in their champions, well, gods, without saying a damned thing. So I wait a couple seconds and then lock in. And it's like, you motherfucker, why didn't you lock in a mage? We need a mage, fuck you. We need mage CC. Even the fucking Hades is mage CC. And freaking not Athena, but Artemis has fucking CC that combos well with Hades and freaking Loki. And they just freaking tear into me, just ganging up on me. And they're like, okay, now we've got to invade their buffs on the left side, because normally, like, you go for the blue buff on your side in the old Joust map, because they've changed it for Season 3. But there was 3 buffs on the sides of this map, in this particular case, the old Joust, where you normally go for the blue, then you go up for the red on the same side. So instead, it's like, oh no, like, we're not going for the blue because we don't have a mage, even though Hades is a mage, and, like, benefits from cooldown reduction. We're going to have to invade their red because they're going to be at that red. We're going to have to invade that one and steal it. So neither of them buy the tool for stealing camps, for invading. Neither of them purchase Hand of God. So, you know, I've got to get it. And then they yell at me for getting it, even though I got the proper tool for doing that, and the people that were supposed to get it didn't. And I put a trap in a choke point so that if we fight over the buff like they decided we were going to do, they couldn't initiate through the clear path. They would be immediately rooted and stuck there, and we would have the ability to quickly steal the buff if we decided to fight over it. They saw me place the trap, they saw it there, they knew the context. The second somebody appears, they fucking bolt. They start the buff, the other one comes in, gets rooted, gets stopped. They don't freaking rush to complete the buff, enabling me to smite it and then run away. They don't do anything. They're like, oh no, we better just fucking immediately run even though this is the scenario we said we were going into. Oh no, we said we were going to go into this camp and steal it from them knowing there would be a confrontation. Oh no, there's a confrontation. We better immediately run. Even though the advantage for us is set up, we better immediately, back out, decide suddenly not to do what we said we were going to do, and then yell at the Artemis for placing a trap that worked. And then continue yelling at her for the entire rest of the game, including yelling at her for a commonly used Athena tactic that everybody that plays Artemis, did at the time. It's been changed since, where it doesn't work very well. It's like, oh, why did you place that trap in the middle of the lane? It's like, I bored and then placed the trap to chain the CC. It's just still there because you freaking knocked her out of the thing. It's like, I was doing everything like an Artemis player was supposed to do, and they were yelling the fuck out of me. And just like tearing into me. It's like, oh, I'm going to report for feeding. I'm going to do that. They're just ganging up on me, doing everything they could fucking do to just tear me down. And just like, I was a fucking emotional wreck. I couldn't fucking play the game, they were bullying me so much. I was shaking. They were just tearing into me so much. I should be able to queue in a solo mode, in a MOBA, and not have to worry about pre-mades for multiple reasons. It doesn't make me a social hermit. It just means I want to play a game, and I want to have a fair conditions, and I don't want to be ganged up on and bullied. None of that makes me an antisocial hermit that has no friends. Other video that's claimed as much. That same video also used the new champion select as a means to defend the dynamic queue, even though they're completely unconnected and have nothing to do with each other. You can have the ability to select to queue for 2 roles and get one of the 2 roles without a matchmaking system dedicated to it, without being in a queue that is teams of any size for pre-mades. You can solo queue and be paired with other solo players in a queue where you pick your role. It's called Team Builder. You know, the two are not connected. But anyway, moving on. It's pretty much makes no sense at all for them to have put it replacing solo queue. So what do? They have a brain in their head and they replace ranked 5s with it. Because there's no point in having 2 team queues. Because what's the point in doing a team of only 5 when you could just go into the teams of any size queue and raise your personal rank? But now the issue arises of there was a point in ranked 5s having a specific team of 5 friends that you could queue with and raise a team rank, and they could be of any overall rank. They could be bronze and you could be platinum if you wanted to. Your friend's rank didn't affect it. But now it's gone. And now you can't queue with your friends that are more than 1 tier below you. So that's a very somewhat valid complaint there. What they should be doing is keeping the structure of registering a ranked 5s team, and you can dynamic queue with it. Sure, keep the solo only queue that they're implementing instead of solo duo. It's solo only and then dynamic queue. Keep ranked 5s as a thing where you register a team of ranked 5 friends. They don't have to be within the same tier of you. Same way it always worked. And you can dynamic queue with that ranked 5 team no matter what the ranks of the people are. And then when you play that, you don't get solo experience or any dynamic queue experience. You raise up your team LP as if you were playing ranked 5s in the old days. And you can still level up your team LP at a slower rate by playing with some of your ranked 5s if some of them aren't available. Also, implement the ability to register subs. So you have a starter team of 5, and then you have substitutes that can fill in the slots and give your ranked team the full LP gains for teams. So you don't you're not forced to play with only 3 people if suddenly Bob goes on a trip, so we don't have our 5th. He's not going to be able to play League of Legends for a week. We'll just bring in Steve. Bring in that. Maybe attach it to the upcoming club system that has chats or something. I don't know. That's just extra stuff. And then have it where people that want to queue for the solo only queue can opt to queue for both solo and dynamic queue in the same systems. Solo. Oh, here's this pop-up. If I click it, it gives me this prompt here that says, okay, we'll give you the fastest match available. You are opting in to be either in a solo queue or filling in an empty dynamic queue team. That will help mitigate the issue that's going to arise of people in the solo queue, of less people playing by themselves in dynamic queue because they're just playing in the solo. And it'll mitigate it slightly. Because people that are 4 stacks in the dynamic queue are going to have a hard time finding a 5th member when there's a solo only queue. But anyway, then implement something that is a new ranked board. You could call it something overall rank is basically the intent of it. Don't necessarily need to call it overall board or anything like that. It's just basically instead of moving the ranked rewards to dynamic queue like they said they were going to and pissing off people, move it to a completely new board that's unattached to any specific mode. The overall. An overall board gets LP from every mode and diminished losses if you lose a game. To encourage people to play lots of different queues. And then you can have ranks for 3v3s and dominions and everything else, and each of them will contribute to your overall rank, which you get your ranked rewards from, because your ranked rewards should be based on your overall skill at the game as a whole. It makes a lot more sense there, and fewer people could fucking argue about it. The only problem is making it where you're not punished too heavily for playing only one mode, but also make it rewarding to play multiple modes. So yeah, the key would probably be to make it perfectly decent rapidity to play both dynamic and solo, but not reward you too heavily or too little if you play Dominion and ARAM as well. But overall, it shouldn't be too much of an issue, because if you're playing that mode, you're not playing the other mode. You're still having the same investiture of time. So, I don't know. But it's a framework that could be built on, and you could attach all sorts of nice little gubbins to an overall rank, little bonuses oh, you advanced in your overall rank. That's something to be celebrated. Here, have one of those unlockable chest things they're going to be implementing soon, or like here have some keys, or like, yada yada, some IP. Just like here have a little bonus. Like, oh, you got better at the game overall. Congratulations. Here you go. That would be something nice. And you could have it where each individual queue adds some decoration to your ranked frame, or gives you individual nice rewards to complement it. Where if you have a nice overall rank, you have the frame. Maybe if you have like a good solo queue rank, your nameplate is fancy, or something like that. So you could build so much off of that. But yeah, it's a perfectly valid complaint for dynamic queue replacing solo queue. When like I should be able to solo queue and be against only solos, or no more than like duos, depending on the percentage of the match. I don't want to it should be solo only in 3v3s at most, and like solo duo in a 5v5 is perfectly okay, because then there's still a couple of Randys that aren't like in a pre-made necessarily. They aren't in a connected pre-made. Like there could be two pre-mades, but there's a chance that like the other pre-made will like defend the solo player. There's not like four people ganging up on one dude, or three people ganging up on one dude necessarily. But yeah, there should be the ability to avoid pre-mades completely if you choose to. And another valid complaint about how they're actually doing it, where like the ranked rewards, they said the ranked rewards were going to be moved to like dynamic queue. I don't know if they're going to follow through on that or not, because there's been a lot of negative feedback on it. But there's a 1 through 5, like team of any size, 1 through 5 dynamic queue, and then there's the solo only queue. They're trying to make dynamic queue the one everyone cares about, but what's the issue when the ranked solo comes out? It's going to divide the queues, and there's a chance that people either won't care about it at all because they've already freaking spent so much time in the dynamic queue, or like nobody will care about dynamic queue anymore suddenly. It creates things that are issues that having your ranked rewards attached to an overall board would fix. It doesn't matter which you play, because that's not where your rank rewards come from. Your rank rewards will benefit equally from either queue you play, because no matter what queue you play, it contributes to your overall rank in the game as a whole. Boom. Solution fixed. No one will place an insane amount of importance. Like, oh, dynamic queue doesn't matter because it's not your individual skill. People have said that Korean players have no use for dynamic queue because what the Korean competitive scene is all about, your individual skill. Being part of a strong team is pretty much no prestige unless you yourself individually are a skilled player. Then you're a skilled player on a skilled team. And that's a valid point. Who the fuck cares if you are on a good team? Oh, that team's good. You individually you're just a person on a good team. People want to be acknowledged as good players, not a player on a good team. So yeah, dynamic queue is like teams of any size. Somebody looks at oh, you have you're masters in dynamic queue. They're immediately going to assume you were in a pre-made. And no matter if you solo queued through the entire thing or not, you could get from freaking bronze to challenger by yourself. It's dynamic queue. Everybody will assume you had a pre-made. Solo only, you had to have gotten there by yourself. And that's going to be the one that people will point at. It's that is your rank, because there's no confusion about whether or not you had a pre-made at any point or not, and therefore that's going to be the mode that most people care about theoretically. But yeah, anyway, they need to make a fucking overall rank board, where your ranked rewards come from, and that would be the one that everyone cared about. Korean players, oh, overall skill at the game measurement that like builds up from every queue, that's important because it means I've like mastered like the game overall. You know, that's even more important than just the solo only queue because this is like I played well on a team by myself in sort of Summoner's Rift and ARAMs and 3v3s and Dominion. I played well in a shit ton of modes and a shit ton of contexts. That is the kind of board that should carry the weight. Do it, Riot. Anyway, I probably missed some points I was going to go over. Yeah, ranked 5s should still be a thing. You should be able to sign up your team and have subs like a pro thing. An amateur league might be able to like burst out of this if you structure like team ranked play like a professional circuit, having starters and subs. You can like get a lot of like additions to the competitive scene out of that, possibly, potentially. There's something you could build from out of that kind of potential like build-up system from that. Or like people get experience in how like the professional circuit works if it's structured similarly. You could and have like the overall ranked board where you build it by playing with your team and you build it by playing by yourself because it's an overall rank. So that way, queuing with 5 of your friends doesn't feel like, oh, I'm only raising my team rank, I'm not raising my individual rank, because you're raising your team and your like individual rank at the same time. Your solo queue like ranking might matter less because like what's the point of having a solo queue rank if there's an overall rank that carries my skill as a player? But treating every single mode as a part of your rank rather than your rank makes a lot more sense for a lot of combined number of things and can be built off of in different ways. You could even attach other things to this overall board structure or like a more professional styled team queue. Like, hell, what's stopping League of Legends from having amateur league split events? Like, professional circuits have splits where you like there's periods. It's basically like sports seasons, at least from my understanding, that lead up to tournaments. And like there's like different splits. Like, oh, this split decides if you go to this tournament, and then this split decides if you go to this tournament. What's stopping Riot from just doing things in the client where where ranked 5 teams with subs can sign up for in-game splits to go up for in-game tournaments and have like an in-game Amateur League Worlds tournament that's just in the client. It's not like, oh, you travel to this destination all across the country and then like compete on the stage. You just like there's structured tournaments in the game client for teams. You know, what's preventing them from doing that? The fact that ranked 5s don't exist anymore, honestly. But structuring a ranked 5 circuit within the client and having ranked 5s exist with substitutes and sort of the structure there, and having the overall board queue thing, all of these things can provide so much substance going forward. This is a sort of a thing where you start this at the beginning of a season, implementing it, and fleshing it out over the course of a season until it becomes a solid fixture that's really well thought out, fleshed out, and meaty and substantial. What are they doing? Okay, we're going to have a dynamic queue that's teams of any size. You could solo queue for it. Then we're going to have a solo queue. Ranked 5s aren't a thing anymore. What do you build off of that? What do you build off of teams of any size and solo queue? I suppose I could attach additional rewards to the mastery system. I suppose we could just like do the thing with the rewards attached to like individual ranks like you suggested for the overall ranking, but it will have less meaning because it's not like an achievable thing of an overall rank. It's, you know, We could do that, and I suppose we could, and like, there's nothing stopping us from like having people sign up in the client for tournaments, but that requires an additional structure thing. It could be implemented by having ranked fives still there. You can't build quite as much from teams of any size with no ranked fives system and solo as you can ranked fives system in place that you can dynamic queue with, and a solo queue with the dynamic queue there, and like an overall ranking board. There's so much more you could build off of that. Oh, and I forgot to mention this, there was the option to like go into the solo menu and queue for both at the same time. You would still earn solo experience if you were playing by yourself. Solo is you're playing by yourself LP. Even if you go into like, okay, I'm playing solo and solo queue, you earn solo LP. Okay, I'm queue for both, and I get sent into a filler as for a 4-man, and then it's me. I'm still playing by myself. I still get solo LP. Sort of thing. Finishing that little bit of detail there that I forgot to implement in the rest of the thing. Anyway, this video is going on for a long time, and I've been rambling a bit. But yeah, quick summary again. Overall ranking board that every ranked mode adds to. Add ranked modes for every mode. Twisted Tree Line, ARAM, Dominion, Rift, everything. Every one of them should have a dynamic and a solo queue, but at least a ranked mode. And you keep ranked 5s and ranked 3 teams in there, adding the ability to register substitutes, and make it where if you play with your pre-made registered, if you play with your registered ranked team, you get team LP for that, as well as overall LP. And if you queue by yourself, you get solo and overall LP. And if you play with a portion of your team, you get diminished returns. Also, if you play with a pre-made that isn't your rank 5's teams in dynamic queue, you're still like getting overall LP. That's a detail I hadn't worked out. Like, oh, should you gain like you shouldn't gain for your ranked 5's like LP, but you're not playing solo, so you shouldn't get solo LP. But then there's implementing like here's this dynamic that you can you have to play dynamic mode, but you can't play it alone to get dynamic QLP. You have to play with a team that isn't your ranked 5's team to get dynamic Q. So what do you do if you're playing with a pre-made that isn't your regular team in dynamic Q? What do you get besides the overall ranked LP? That's an issue, possibly. I don't know. That's something I didn't think of until I just thought of it now. What happens? You don't gain ranked team LP because they're not your registered team, and you are not playing solo, so you can't run solo LP. And it's too narrow of a circumstance to warrant an additional board, really. And why would there not be a dynamic queue board in this instance? Because it's a mode. Yeah, the dynamic queue doesn't need its own board. Honestly, if you're having the ranked teams board and the solo board, it kind of just shoves dynamic as its own board out of the way. So that's just something to think about, I suppose. It's a solid idea. Probably has flaws I don't notice, like that one just like occurred to me. But that's not really a huge problem, I guess. You feel free to disagree about that particular issue. Anyway, I'm not going to summarize again, but this will be Cheese of Ages, scratching my mustache, and signing off.